This is Joy 99.7 FM, and this is Strong and Sassy. My name is Animwaa Anim-Addo, and we'll be doing this until 8 o'clock. A very, very, very good evening to you. If you're driving home, I hope you're safe. The roads are wet, slippery, and it seems to be extra dark tonight for some reason. So I hope you get home safely. And if you're home and listening to us, well, thank you so much for tuning in as well. So tonight we're continuing our conversation, Suffering in Silence. And we wanted to focus a lot more today on the emotional side of abuse. We will also have a brief conversation to do with the law, what to do when you're abused, who to report to, the process, the kind of costs involved, just so that you have an idea of what to do if that happens to you. But the main focus of today's conversation is the emotional side of abuse. And joining me for tonight's conversation is Dr. Evelyn Owusu Roberts, who is a licensed clinical psychologist. Dr. Evelyn was with us last week and we weren't able to speak to her, so we just wanted to say a big thank you to her for her patience and for being back here tonight. And we have Serwaah Sarfo Mensah Esq. She's a lawyer and entrepreneur, so she'll be talking about the legal side of abuse. So good evening and thank you so much for joining us. Doc, as usual, it's a pleasure to have you.
It's good to be here. Thank you so much.
Great. So, let's start from the beginning. In your interactions with women who have been abused, how do they present? You know, when they walk into your office, what's that like?
So when it comes to women who have been abused, usually the emotions, are varied. Sometimes there's anger, there's a little bit of dejection, sometimes the feeling of hopelessness, the feeling of, so sometimes wanting things to work out, but then, finding that it's difficult for them to, have that end or have that picture that they have in their minds. So there's a little bit of disappointment there too as well.
Right. So that's that. Those are the feelings that they come with. What are some of the common stories that you hear when it comes to abuse?
Um, well, since I haven't had to deal with the, the cases where there's, for example, maybe someone having that such a significant kind of abuse that maybe fire has been set, and their homes, but it's really usually physical abuse with verbal abuse and emotional abuse, and sometimes. And because there might be also some financial abuse, that's where the helplessness also comes in.
Right.
And when they're again, that feeling of helplessness also increases, and because then you find a mixture of this situation is not good. I know that something needs to be done, but I really don't have anywhere to go. I don't know how I would do this on my own with my children because he controls everything financially.
Right. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, so let's kind of take a step by step approach, maybe from a protective point of view. So how do you, so we're switching from the abused to the abuser for a second. How do you identify someone who could be abusive? Because a lot of the stories that we've heard, especially the women, they will say that, oh, but when we were dating, he wasn't like this, when we're this, he wasn't like this. Are there always red flags? And what are some of these red flags that we should be looking out for?
To be honest, yes, it is true that sometimes it's hard to identify that someone will become abusive. However, sometimes too, there are certain things that we could do, certain investigations, certain conversations that can be done, especially during the dating period, even the friendship period, to try to find out. And for one, we know that sometimes people who end up to be abusers, sometimes, unfortunately, they come from homes where they experienced that themselves, where they saw that happening with their parents. And so then that becomes sort of like a permission, a silent permission that this is something that also do. So it's really looking at having conversations around upbringing, like how was home like, how your parents, what was it like? And so then that can be something to assess. And then having conversations about, so for you, what did that, how did that impact you? And then trying to find out how, whether they feel like, yeah, maybe mom deserved it, mom, and maybe blaming, the victim, then that's a little bit of a red flag there. And sometimes too, people who end up being abusers also have problems with emotion regulation. So how they deal with things not going their way, how they're able to handle or take control of their anger. One of the ways I think usually when conflicts arise in relationship, how it is handled can also give rise to understanding, okay, this is how this person is. If this person seems to find a little bit more difficulty controlling their emotions, then that might possibly be a problem. And there's actually a test that you can take, the love language test. There's the love language test, there's the anger management test as well, and then also even apology language test. So these are tests that you can take together as a couple just to kind of find out where people tend to be when it comes to that. Another thing also it's really looking at, okay, sometimes there are videos on social media, and some of these videos include women being abused in some way. Sometimes it's kind of like in a funny way, right? And so they're looking at how this person might respond to a video like that. Do they find it funny, or do they say, oh my goodness, like, that's not cool, you can't hit that woman even if it's a joke, like that's unacceptable. So seeing how they respond to some of these memes, can also give a little bit of a clue as to where they might stand when it comes to abuse, the possibility of abuse.
I mean, I get that from your perspective, some of these things should be able to be easy should be easy to identify, but I mean, for the lay person, right, with no background in psychology, or anything, some of the flags seem a bit, because they need assessing, right? So if, for example, you're seeing somebody who had an abusive father, you don't want to just jump to the conclusion that he too will abuse it. Maybe he's never been abusive before. Is that your way, or is that you almost saying that there's really no sure way of being able to tell?
Unfortunately, sometimes it's hard to tell because let's say you start a relationship, right, and everything is rosy, and you go on in that relationship, and at a certain point, there's a crisis in the relationship. Now, maybe you're married, now there's a crisis in the relationship. Now, maybe he's lost his job, right? And now he's not coping well. Now he's drinking. Now, you are seeing a whole side of him that you've never seen before, right? And now this person has become almost a stranger to you, right? And sometimes it's the situation, how they deal with stress, how they deal with some of these things that tend to happen. If you have never seen that person in that way, there's never been such a deep, stressful situation for you to see them in that light. It can be difficult for anyone to predict in that sense. However, right, there are times, and for some of the cases, it's not completely always true that you can never absolutely determine that this person might possibly, be someone who is abusive. And again, like you said, it doesn't also automatically mean that the fact that someone has grown up in an abusive situation, they will end up also being abusive. because we learn different things from our experiences.
So if you notice certain behaviors that cause concern with your partner, what's the best way to approach it? Is it to have a conversation with them? Is it to go to someone they're accountable to? Is it to suggest therapy? What are the possible ways of dealing with it?
I think first it starts with a conversation between you and that individual about your concerns, and then looking at the individual's, the other person's ability to also see, that, oh yeah, I see what you mean. Like this is also, yeah, I think I need to work on this, and being intentional about that. However, when that first step is not something that you're seeing results with, the second step can be maybe seeing a counselor, somebody the person is accountable to, or even doing therapy. But when you're in a relationship with someone, you are, I mean, even when it's a marriage, it's difficult for some of these people to leave. But then if it's a relationship, because you are not bound to the person, sometimes that courage needs to be there to be able to say, you know, I need you to go fix yourself. And, we don't need to be in a relationship right now.
Okay.
But sometimes we need to fix this person.
Okay. So the best recommendation is always therapy. You know, when people say, "Oh, I'll work on this. I'll work on this myself. I'll work on this." How effective is the working on? You know, do you almost always need to have some sort of supervision or somebody who knows what they are doing to take you through some of these process or have these conversations? Is it possible to self heal? I think is what I'm asking.
So when it comes to something like therapy, usually it only works if the person is invested. So you cannot really force anyone to be invested in therapy, because at the end of the day, the work is for the person to do. And as much as you give them the tools, they are supposed to do that work themselves. So whether it is even by self-help, or it's by looking to a professional, or like a counselor who has, knowledge or that expertise to help you, the work at the end of the day becomes yours to do, and the person should be ready to do that work, because they see the implications of not doing that work.
Right. Okay. I mean, since we're talking about abusive parents, how do we raise non-abusive children? Because, for example, let's say you're a single mom, you've come out of an abusive relationship, but you've come out with your children. What can you do to raise the children in such a way that they are not repeating the patterns of abuse?
It has to be intentional. And sometimes, depending on the age, there must be age appropriate conversations that go on. Also, it's in also looking at how the children handle their emotions and how you teach them to handle their emotions well, right? So if they are angry, if they are upset, we don't hit. Let's look at a healthier way of dealing with your emotions, right? And so then being really intentional about that, the work, because then you're trying to basically overcome any sort of impact they have had by the environment that they've been in, that they found themselves in. So as a parent, it has to be intentional, and age appropriate conversations need to go on about what is right, how you treat a woman, how you don't treat a woman, but they're not also creating any further division, because they've seen maybe their parents in a way that they shouldn't be seeing them, and there may be some hate that they even have for their parents, because I know I talk with little kids as well, and you see how sometimes they have that strong hate for the parents who is abusing the other parents.
Right. Okay. Must there always be some sort of professional intervention?
It depends on the situation, but it never hurts. It never hurts to have some sort of professional intervention too as well.
Okay. Um the those who stay in abusive relationships, you know, so many times we'll hear a story and then we'll say, but why did she stay that long? Or why didn't she say something? Why didn't she do something? Can you talk us through the mind of somebody who is staying in an abusive relationship, and then maybe after that perhaps also talk us through or walk us through how to support someone who is still in an abusive relationship? So if you are the person that this person talks to, how to deal with it. But the first question is, just the mind of somebody who is staying in an abusive relationship.
Okay, so sometimes, yeah, like you said, it seems like counterintuitive. Like you are in a bad situation, why not just leave? However, it's really not always that simple because emotion matters. Sometimes you have a whole family with this person. Sometimes, and the way abuse starts, sometimes it doesn't always start with that straight abuse. It's something that creeps in little by little, and then it escalates. Right, so maybe they abuse you, maybe there's a hit, there's a slap, oh, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. Then the next time it's like, you made me do this, I love you so much, you really made me do this. And so there's sometimes now the victim feels responsible, right? And so that becomes a problem because then they feel like, wow, like I have a part to play in this. And so maybe I can also fix this person. Sometimes they're literally logistical matters, so to speak. The person cannot go anywhere because the abuser is controlling all the finances. The abuser is the one that's paying for everything. And so then, and you really cannot go anywhere. Sometimes, unfortunately, that person is also very powerful. And so then there's that. And we're talking about this a little bit, the shame of having to basically let someone else know that this is happening to you.
Yeah.
Right. So these are some of the things that go on in the mind of the person who is abused. Like, oh my goodness, like I'm this prestigious person in society or in church, I'm really involved in church. What if, when people find out, sometimes they are going to ask, like, what did you do? Which was another.
Yeah.
And so to support someone like that first is really understanding and not being judgmental of the situation, because sometimes there needs to be a little bit more compassion. And then looking at what does this person need? How can you, with the resources, which we are going to, the legal person can also help us with, in terms of the resources, all of us really need to be informed. And so that's why I'm happy about this program. Like, where can this person go? Where can they go to seek help? And what are some of the things they can do? How can you financially support? How can you emotionally support this person? How can you be there, just even as a listening ear, even if feel safe. If it's just really talking to the person from a point of understanding in terms of trying to help them live and what that might look like, because sometimes they literally will need money. They will need a place to stay. They'll be helping them through some of these logistics so that they feel like they can actually leave. These are some of the concrete ways to help them, even as you are there for them emotionally, as in listening to them, especially from a non-judgmental space.
Right. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. Thank you so much for that. Let me use this to come back into studio. I mentioned at the beginning of the show that we have Serwaah Sarfo Mensah also joining us. She's a lawyer and entrepreneur. She was here last week. Serwaah, how are you? Good evening.
I'm
Thank you
good.
for being here.
Good evening. Thanks for having me.
So, Doc was talking about some of the places that we can go to. So I guess my first question is, when you're being abused, where do you go? Who do you call? And I mean, apart from your friends, but I mean, if you actually want, to take it a step further, what's the process like?
Okay. So your first point of call is a domestic violence, DOPSU.
Okay.
Violence unit and support unit, and they are in charge of domestic violence and abuse in Ghana.
Okay.
So I think last week we mentioned how some people have been going there and some of them have been successful and others have not been successful. So they are your first points of call. They are under the Ghana Police Service. So although some have not been successful, there's still a way,
Okay.
a way with them. So anytime there's an abuse, your first point of call, apart from people living close to you who you know they are that close, so they will reach
Though physically they're able to remove you from the situation.
than it is the police.
Okay.
And the law is a Ghana,
DOFSU.
DOFSU, and the law lays out a whole lot of protection procedures DOFSU can give such victims of the
Okay.
abuse.
So when you walk into DOFSU, or let's say you call DOFSU, what should you expect?
Oh, I am expecting them to receive me, in a very nice way, treat me well. What should you expect? I'm saying what I expect from them.
I actually meant what should we expect from? Okay, I mean it's the same thing really.
Okay.
We're expecting them to treat us well and all that.
Yeah.
But what in terms of, I guess this question is putting you on the spot, because really if you haven't gone through the process before, you may not, know. But like, I mean, what are they going to do? I think is what I'm saying. They will say, okay, what happened? Take a statement.
Yes.
Then what?
You lodge a complaint, but then they follow up. You don't just lodge a complaint. So they follow up to arrest. So they have the power to arrest. The Ghana Police Service has the power to arrest such people
Okay.
under section, under the DOFSU at Act 732. And you can also apply, so they can help you go through an application order for the person to be removed close to you, or for the person to be restrained from coming close to you.
Okay,
So those are the
practical
protection
terms.
orders.
Practical terms, right, Serwaah? Let's say I live in the house with my husband and our 5 children. Okay. He's beating me, he's beating the children.
Okay.
I go and report at DOFSU, or I go and report to the police. Who will be removed from the house?
Okay.
Him
Him.
or me?
Or him, if you apply for that order.
Okay,
Him.
so that's the order that we were talking about last week, which
yes,
is also
exactly.
quite expensive.
Yes, for some people.
It's relative. How much is it?
I don't know the
Okay.
fees. It's
Okay.
a process. You know how you file court processes.
Does it take
So I
long?
can't-
Because court processes can take long sometimes.
Oh, not really. But it won't be also immediate like a day. You just apply today and you get it today, because of course you will file the process. And you go through a process before it gets to a judge.
Right.
So-
So you see that then there's that space in between which becomes a problem.
No, but you see, what we have to realize is that once you report the case to DOFSU, they will immediately make sure you get shelter.
Okay.
That's it. So there are interim things that DOFSU will do for you to get. So what they will do is not to prevent what has happened from happening.
Okay.
So let's say, for example, like I think I mentioned last week that I had this client who called me around 12 a.m. and she was crying that the husband had beaten her. She went to a DOFSU unit close to her area and she couldn't get the help she wanted. Okay, so 12 a.m. It's not a time for DOFSU to be able to move to the home of the person to make sure things are in order to remove the abuser from the home. Of course, if you would want to remove the abuser from the home, it would take a court order. So what they will do is that they will give the person shelter. So, for example, they will make sure they will ask if you have maybe a parent, a friend, or someone you could go to for the night, and then till morning when they are able, or they will be able to go through the matter with you. Or so there are also shelters like the ACT Foundation and other shelters. So if they are able to also call them or reach them for them to take you to shelter within that space of time, they will also do it till the next day when they can go through the process with you.
Yeah.
And,
I mean, I'm listening to you speak, and I'm remembering. I don't know if you've watched this movie. What's Love Got to Do with It?
I think it's been a while.
The
I don't remember.
Tina Turner and Ike Turner story,
Okay,
and
yes.
there's a point in that movie when, so Ike has beaten Tina Turner blue, like she's running across the street. This is Tina Turner. She runs into a hotel, And I think she takes off her jewelry and she says, "My name is Tina Tena. I need a place to stay. I don't have money, but I promise I'll pay you." And there's so much desperation in that moment because she's trying to get away from somebody who is, is abusing her and who is beating her. I mean, you find that there are lots of women in that position. Your husband is beating you in the middle of the night. You come to call your friend. Your friend's husband will say he doesn't want trouble. You know what I mean? You are trying to get out, and it's difficult.
Yes.
So you go to the police, depending on who you meet. The story could go this way, could go that way. I'm sure, I don't know for a fact, but I'm sure a lot of women have left and have had to go back home because, there was nowhere to go. I'm going somewhere. So the point I'm trying to make is that, would it ever be possible to have, within reason, a policy or something that allows for places that are open? I mean, maybe a bit idealist, whether it's hotels or guest house or whatever, to have a certain policy where when a woman shows up like that, completely helpless, she's not turned away immediately. Do you think it's something that we could ever have? And do you think it would help? Because I hear you talking about shelters and stuff. And in my head, I'm like, I know that there are not that many shelters, number one.
Yes.
And so you're going to have to rely on friends and family. Now, we also know that most of the time, families will send you back because they will say, and most of the time, your friends who don't want to get involved in your marriage. So really, really, apart from behind the counter, which I guess if it's really bad, then you beg the police people to let you sleep there. What do you do? Where do you go? If you don't, especially if you don't have money, if you're holding money, at least you can walk into any hotel and pay and sleep at least. But if you don't have, then, I mean, realistically speaking, like I'm asking you because I really want a realistic, like, yes or no, like we are joking with ourselves about this issue.
Okay, so I don't think we are really joking with ourselves in this issue. Life happens. It's difficult. There are times that you even go into situations where it's not even abuse, but you hardly find a place to live. People don't have money and they are struggling to even pay their rent, so they've had to live on the streets and all that. So in a case like this, I would say that when we bring hotels and guest houses in, then maybe we are trying to maybe privatize the matter because they're also running a business. They would have to come in and say that, okay, because of what we are running, would love to maybe give a certain percentage of our proceeds to that to help them in times of trouble. But it's also goes to or comes back to the person. Are such people interested in such things? You find people do different things. So, for example, one company's corporate social responsibility may be to support breast cancer units. Others, corporate social responsibility would be burns and others. So, my question is that would such hotels love to do such kindness in that field?
I mean, I get it. If you're in the hospitality industry and you really don't want abused women who are looking crazy and beaten walking through the lobby. And I mean, I get that that's the reality, but I was asking you because I really just wanted to get an idea of the actual reality of there's something happening to you in the middle of the night. Where do you go?
A friend. No, the police.
Can you go to the hospital?
Yes, you can go to. No, you see. So I nearly came to that too. When you are hurt, when you go to DOFSU and then you are hurt. In fact, they would even ask you whether you are hurt anywhere, because as part of the processes, you also need to do medical examination.
Who pays for that?
You.
Okay.
So these are some of the loopholes that we need to fill in the law, such that the law, protects victims to an extent, but protection such as shelter, such as helping those that don't have, with their court processes like the medical bills, like filing for a protection order, I think we would need to.
Because even
come up
I'm
with-
even thinking, like initial night staying at the hospital, right? There are some hospitals that are not too expensive. If you're holding maybe 400, 300, 400, 500 CDs, they will look after you and then give you a place to sleep.
Yes.
But the thing with hospitals now too is that before they treat you, you have to pay.
Yes.
So if you've run away from the house, you're not holding your cards, you don't have Momo, you don't have access to money, you go to the hospital, they won't help you.
No, they won't help you.
Because
They
they
won't help
won't,
you.
like paracetamol cry, they won't give. Like right now, it's pay before,
Yes.
you
see.
are. I know it's like I'm painting a really, really bleak picture, but I really need us to paint the picture the way it is.
No, I think the only way out is for the government to create shelters. I think that will be the only way out.
And also to maybe have an open door policy when it comes to hospitals, when it comes to some of these things.
when it comes to government hospitals.
Yes, government hospitals. I mean,
Yes.
you should be able to know that, there's something wrong with me. If I can't go anywhere, I can go to 37. I can't go anywhere, I can go to police hospital. When I get there and I say, I've been abused, my husband has beat me, he has cut my face, I need a bed for the night. The funny thing, and the reason why I'm smiling is because I remember when we did the no bed story about 2 or 3 years ago. I'm fighting for abused women to get hospital beds. Meanwhile, people who are actually like having heart attacks are not getting hospital beds. So it's such like a huge problem, but I mean, if you can't give her a bed, give her a chair.
Yes.
She doesn't, maybe the person doesn't need resuscitation or some deep medical, but just a safe space to be for the night. So the next morning, because you and I both know, Serwaah, and this is not to bash friends or anything, but when you call your friend, especially your friend who is married, in the middle of the night, her husband will definitely say that I don't want to get involved because probably you guys have been chilling together. So now as soon as he gets involved, it's like, and this is not to bash men, of course, it's a difficult situation. So then what do you do?
You see, it comes back to us.
Who is the us?
The victims.
But how can it come back to a victim?
Individual, because
how can it come back to a victim?
You see, when you see the red flag, I say run. Because at the end of the day, we can help you to an extent. We can't come and we can't pick you up and remove you from there.
What if there were no red flags? People have
And then it
married
happened
serial
once,
killers.
and then it happened. I believe you would definitely. You see, I don't want us to go into serial killers, but maybe it will be a discussion for another day. But let me just point something. You need to study the human being. I always say that. We are all different. You need to know who this is, who that Akusia is, who Ama is, who Kojo is. Okay, so for example, Kojo is silent. Kojo doesn't talk too much. Why is it that Kojo is quiet, doesn't talk too much? In Ghana mostly, when people are quiet, we tend to say that they are very peaceful, they are good, and so. But I have found that such people are there. I've come across such people.
Sometimes they
who are very, well, I don't want to use any words for them, but they disappoint a lot. So you don't just jump into any relationship. And any relationship, so for example, sister, brother, married couples, girlfriend, boyfriends, study your partner. You definitely find something before the first blow. If you don't find anything before the first blow, but however the first blow comes, that is your red flag. So the first action, it can come in several forms. It can come in extreme anger, like violent anger. That's red flag. It can come in an assault, and assault is a crime. My sister, my brother, you should run. These are the red flags. So no one can help you but yourself, honestly speaking. And you should always have some sort of money for a rainy day.
Yeah.
So for our women, I always tell them that do not go into a relationship expecting your man to absolutely take care of you. Gone are the days where our parents or our aunties would go into a relationship where they'll get the man to take care of them for life. They don't need to even pick any law. But we've come to a world where you need to support yourself, because you don't know when hell will break loose.
Yeah.
So you need to always have that safety box in there, where if anything should happen, where would I go? That is your fallen. That is your protection. That is your medical bill. That is the money you will use to file your processes. That is your rent. That is, in fact, your hotel, your shelter. Because really, we can help to an extent.
Yeah.
But we can't really go far with it. But with the hospitals, you see, I believe they treat every case as a serious one, not just abuse. And they will tell you, especially when you go to the emergency, they will tell you that if maybe Kwame is in pain and the level of pain is maybe 5, and Akosia is in pain and Akosia's level of pain is like 10, they will attend to Akosia before.
Yeah.
So they always tend to prioritize life. Okay,
Of course, over.
before,
But it's fine. I can sit in the waiting room. At least I have
And
a
then-
safe place to sit
then, yes.
and wait.
Yes. But some of the government hospitals, I really don't remember. They really do help with abusive situations.
Okay, so I think next week we'll add that to, because we're not done with this topic. So maybe
Yes.
next week we'll explore the options that the
So,
hospitals,
yes, they do have the
offer
government hospitals.
the government
Yes,
hospitals.
they do
But
help
I
a lot.
think what you said that really got to me, two things, is number one, I mean, really, if you live in Ghana, you're a Ghanaian and you live, know that the system is not there to help you. So when you are choosing a husband or a partner,
Choose well.
and know that if yawa pies, you are most likely on your own.
That's
Number
it.
one. Then number two, and this is so important for women, to be economically independent. You don't have to be the richest woman or have, all of that, but have something.
Yes.
Because to not, and especially if you're a mom, I mean, and you know that anything could happen. I mean, and this is not even just about just, this show and just physical abuse from your partner, but there's so many women, when your husbands die, like life just goes,
Yes.
because that's also a kind of abuse,
Yes.
where the family comes in and all sorts of things come in, and then you are just left completely helpless. That's also abuse. We've seen it happen. Women have lost their husbands and the families come in, they take everything, they are sucking the woman. They are, if you don't have money to go to court, if you don't have money to get a lawyer, if you don't have money to file processes for injunctions, you will be messed up.
Yes.
So basically, I mean, even the Bible says that money is a defense. So in all you're getting, please get money, put it down small. So that when something happens, even if you won't work and you are siphoning your husband's money, siphon it well. So that you have a fund. Because even if you're housewives, I believe the housewife should be on salary. Because the kind of work that you do when you are a stay-at-home mom, if you were going to hire somebody else come and do it, it would be
difficult. Yeah.
Anyway, I've totally digressed, but I think I made my point. Someone says, if you want to be second Jesus and suffer like him, then try. Okay, this person said, try hitting me, Keke. I think it's a woman. We'll show you something small. And then she also said, lastly, as a woman, make your own money as a responsible adult, so that funds becomes the last thing to consider or tie you
down
to the devil. Yeah. Okay, let's just finish up with Doc. Hi, Doc, are you there?
Hey, I'm here. I'm really listening to the conversation.
Oh, okay. Okay, so we don't have that much time left, but I just wanted to wrap things up with you. What's your advice? I mean, I'm sure you've heard us talking about women making their own money and, all of that, but what's your advice, from an emotional point of view, when it comes to getting out of an abusive relationship?
I think the best thing is to not get in the first place. And like my sister said, once you see those signs, like just run. It's not, you don't really have to stay. You don't really have to try to save the person.
Yeah.
So before things get bad, I think the relationship period, the dating period, should really be a period where, like, you are really trying to know who this person is, just because of the likelihood of some of these things happening. But unfortunately, sometimes the focus goes elsewhere, and then there's all sorts of love bubbles in the air, and then the things that the red flags you're supposed to be seeing, you are not seeing them. So please, in as much as we are looking for the things that we want, let us also pay attention to the things that we don't want, the things that can be dangerous for a family that we are building. And let's take the dating period very seriously, and run, when you see the red flags.
Right. Okay. Well, thank you so much for that, Doc. Thank you for joining us. And I'm not sure if next week we will reach out, but either ways we'll talk. So thank you so much for joining us. Serwaah, so let's do the lawyers. You know the lawyers, because at some point you need a lawyer.
Yes, you do.
In all of this. How do we find lawyers who are not so expensive?
Oh, that's very easy. So you see, we are made to do some pro bono at a point.
Okay.
So you find, so there are some law firms that if they are not, they've not exhausted their pro bono boxes, they can pick it up for you.
Okay.
There are some people who also have their soft spots for abuse, so they'll pick it up for you. But if you don't have money, the government has lawyers. It pays them to do cases for you for free.
Okay.
They are called legal aid.
Okay.
Their head office is in Accra. It's close to the
courts,
High Court.
it's next
building.
to the court. Yeah.
Yes,
I know.
I think they are also next to the new Attorney General's Department building.
I've been there once. It was very full.
It's always full. I used to do cases there though.
Okay.
I'm on break now, because I also do cases through my foundation. It's called Avika White. So we do such cases for people as well. So if you don't have money, you don't have to be afraid. Just walk
go
into
to legal aid.
Yes, they have branches across the regions.
And you should be able to get somebody to help you.
Yeah. Oh, they will.
They will.
I was doing some of the cases.
Okay. Well, that's good then. At least you have. It
It
doesn't look too bad. I guess there's a little bit of hope.
Oh no, there is hope. But you see, I always say that it is us. It's not even the law that is not helping us. There are always, weaknesses everywhere. But the strengths overpower the weaknesses. It comes back to us. You will find that because of stigmatization, because of financial constraints, these same abusers will go back to, the victims will go back to the abusers.
Yeah.
They are shy that people will think that their husbands are beating them. And even the men. I had a man who was terribly beaten by the wife, like almost every day. Wow. And he was afraid to share it. I'm like, why? Because
it's embarrassing. Yeah,
it's very
embarrassing.
Yeah. And the issue was very, very serious. That, okay, fine, if you don't want anyone to know, why don't you also leave the environment? Why don't you leave where you are, but you continue to let her beat you?
Because then they'll ask him, so why have you left? And then he has to say, because my wife has been beating me.
So you choose to die.
It's tough.
That's it.
It's tough.
That's it.
It's
we
tough.
need to help ourselves.
Yeah, it's tough.
We need to. The victims must make a move, because we can do.
You can offer all the support, but at the end of the day, it's up to you. But I think we are also mindful of the fact that when you're a victim of abuse, you are compromised in so many ways. This is the person that you love is the person that's inflicting pain, and even those two contradicting thoughts is difficult to process. Like, you love me, but you're hurting me.
Yes.
And so even being able to work through that and to be able to see the person that you love as they are, as opposed to your hope for them or what you think. I mean, it's difficult. It's difficult. But anyways, just to summarize and end, if you are in an abusive relationship, like, you just keep telling yourself that if you stay, you die, because the chances of you dying are quite high. And go to the police station, call DOFSU. Speaking of DOFSU, their numbers are 0800 000 900. So 0800 000 and 055 1900. 055 1900. Call Dofsu. They will help you. There's always a way out. There's always a way out until you are in the grave. Even that one, maybe you go to heaven, but the point is that don't wait to be dead. Come out of the relationship, come out for yourself, come out for your children. But I think the most important thing we've said is there'll always be red flags in the beginning. So don't let the love over you so much that you can't see that the person that you are with is gonna harm you. That's it for our show for tonight. Not too sure which direction this conversation will take next week, but I mean that gives you something to look forward to. We'll be back. Thank you, Serwaah, for being here, and thank you to Doc for being here. Thank you to Anita, Oliver, Mirabelle, and the rest of the team. The show is live. It's on Facebook, so if you missed any part of it, you can watch on Facebook, and we're always interactive, so we'll come back to your comments. Thank you so much. My name is Animwaa Anim-Addo. God willing, we'll be back here next week. Coming up next is the 8 o'clock news.